Carl Bunchen had been waiting to die for more than 30 years. He'd broken the record for being the oldest convict in Texas death row. During all that time, he never showed remorse. But when he faced the cameras for the last time, he completely fell apart.
I thought about this several times a day, every day for 32 years. I wish it hadn't have happened.
He had been sentenced to death for the murder of a policeman. On June 27, 1990, he took the life of James Irby, a Houston officer, during a routine stop that got out of hand.
So you can still remember that day?
Yes. I can remember everything that happened that day, yeah.
Why did you shoot Officer Irby?
Why? Because he was fixing to kill me. When I pulled my gun, it was in self-defense.
The crime caused shock and left a family searching for justice, and death was the only solution.
When the jury returned another death sentence, were you relieved?
I was. We were quite relieved and, again, saddened. It's still a conflict, as I said. I don't know if I can actually watch him executed.
It's not about revenge. It's not about anything like that. It's just finally being able to move on from this thing that has affected my whole life and, most of my mother's and my brother's.
For more than 30 years, the Irbys have waited, if nothing else, for an apology from Bunchen. But apparently, they wouldn't get one. It had even been speculated that the crime had been premeditated. Almost 2 decades earlier, the criminal's brother had been killed by police officers, for which Bunchen had sworn to get revenge.
So for you, it wasn't about getting revenge for your brother?
Absolutely not. No. I don't have nothing against cops. I want cops to protect me just like they do everybody else. I did not carry a gun to protect myself against cops.
Revenge or not, no one could forgive what Bunchen had done. However, when he had only days left to live, he decided to do what he had been asked to do for years.
If you could say something to Officer Irby's wife and children, what would you say to them?
I wish like hell it never had happened. Miss Irby sitting right there, I tell her the same thing. I'm sorry it happened. My heart aches every day for her and her kids.
That's amazing, because he's never shown any kind of remorse for any of us. That's the first apology that I've heard that he's made.
The Carl Bunchen case has achieved a lot of notoriety. It generated discussion because of the length of time he spent on death row, but also for the fact that he had achieved that record in Texas. Once a date was set for the execution, it was already clear in Carl's head that he was living his final hours.
How do you plan to spend your final days?
Well, just like I do every day, I read my Bible and I'll read other books. I like to read. I'm too old to go out. They let the other inmates go out to recreation 1 hour a day.
The execution date was set for April 21st, 2022. And of course, despite the fact that he would receive the harshest punishment U.S. justice can hand out, he knew it would in no way help James Irby's family. Nothing would bring the former police officer back to life.
I'm sorry it happened. My heart aches every day for her and her kids. So maybe my execution will set their mind at ease a little bit. I mean, I can't bring their dad back, but maybe by me being executed, maybe they could finally put this thing behind them.
The day would finally come, and Carl Bunchen would die at 6:29 p.m. However, there was no peace either inside or outside the prison. Family and friends of James Irby, as well as those of the condemned man, were present, making their positions on the situation clear.
Gone through 32 years, 2 trials with the family, watched the kids grow up. Jim and I had kids the same time, and our families were close, and it's just finally there's a little closure here.
And while some celebrated Bunchen's death, there were others who couldn't stand that this was happening. They weren't just family and friends, but also people who seek to abolish capital punishment forever.
I'm here because I oppose every single execution in the state of Texas.
Her point of view?
Why do we kill people to show that killing people is wrong?
But of course, The ones who had suffered the most from this horrible situation were the Irbies, the family that had been left without a father and who finally, more than 30 years later, saw some justice in their lives. Of course, it feels wrong to celebrate a death, but for Maura Irby, it ended decades of suffering.
I can only say that it was an amazing feeling, and I felt like I took the deepest breath I've been able to in the last 32 years, and I feel joy. I'm sorry that someone died, but I didn't think of him as a person. I just thought of him as a thing, as a cancer on the face of my family. So I also want to thank everyone here at the prison and Janice with the Victims Assistance. They have been just wonderful in helping us along. I also want to mention that there were a lot of good things that we made happen and come out of Jim's life. And other than that, I still miss him 32 years later. Thank you for being here.